Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. Life is not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond. Every single day, your emotions are going to get tested. You're going to feel anger. You're going to feel fear. You're going to feel doubt. And if you let those emotions run your life, they will ruin your life. You've got to train your mind to be stronger than your emotions. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. Emotions come and go, but the choices you make while under their influence can shape your entire life. Emotions are temporary. They rise up like a storm, shake you for a moment, and then they fade. But the decision you make in the middle of that storm can last a lifetime. That's why you can't afford to let emotions dictate your actions. You've got to stop, breathe, and think. Because what feels right in a heated moment might leave scars you carry forever. Think about how many people have ruined opportunities just because they couldn't manage their emotions. Somebody gets angry at work, cusses out their boss, and suddenly their paycheck is gone. In the heat of anger, they feel justified. They feel powerful. But 2 hours later, when the emotion fades, they realize they put themselves in a hole. That's the danger. Your emotions lie to you in the moment. They exaggerate the situation. They make you think this feeling is everything. But in reality, it's only passing through. The problem is, the decision you made while feeling it might stick around and haunt you long after that emotion is gone. On the other hand, some people let fear paralyze them. Fear is one of the strongest temporary emotions, and it convinces people to sit still, to not take action, to not go after their dreams. And while fear only lasts until you step forward and courage, the decision not to move can cost you years of progress. Imagine passing on a business opportunity not because you were incapable, but because you were afraid. That fear might have lasted only a day, but the regret of missing that shot can last the rest of your life. You can't let temporary emotions rob you of permanent blessings. Let me make it plain. Every emotion is a signal, but it's not a command. Anger might tell you something isn't fair, but it doesn't mean you need to lash out. Sadness might tell you you've lost something, but it doesn't mean your life is over. Fear might tell you to be careful, but it doesn't mean you should stop moving. If you can step back and recognize this is just a feeling, it's going to pass, you give yourself the power to make better choices. That's what separates people who build lasting success from people who keep tripping over the same mistakes. When you're in control of your emotions, you buy yourself time to think clearly. That pause between the feeling and the action is where wisdom lives. That pause is where your strength is tested. Anybody can feel, that's human, but not everybody can master their response. The person who learns how to control their reaction is the one who wins, because once the emotion is gone, you're left standing with the results of the choice you made. And I promise you, you'd rather be proud of that choice than regret it. You have to remind yourself constantly that emotions are visitors, not permanent residents. They knock on your door, they show up uninvited, but you decide how long they stay, and you decide whether they influence the decisions you make. Don't let anger drive the car. Don't let fear hold the wheel. Don't let sadness write the script of your future. Because when those emotions are gone, you'll be stuck living with the consequences of the decision you made while they were in control. So the next time you feel like reacting, like snapping, like quitting, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, when this feeling fades, will I be proud of the choice I'm about to make? That one question can save you from years of regret. That's how you train your mind to be stronger than your emotions. That's how you start living with discipline instead of regret. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine your life as a car. You're on a long road and your future's the destination. Now, who do you want behind the wheel? If your mind your discipline, your wisdom is driving, you're going to stay on course. But if you let your emotions drive, you're going to swerve, you're going to crash, and you're going to end up somewhere you never intended to be. That's what happens when people allow anger, fear, or frustration to take control of their decision. You've got to stop giving your emotions the keys to your life. Think about anger. When anger gets in the driver's seat, it floors the gas without checking the road. You say things you can't take back. You make moves you can't undo, and you cause damage that takes years to repair. In the moment, anger feels powerful. It feels justified. But anger doesn't see the big picture. It only sees the heat of the moment. And when the anger finally pulls over and gets out of the car, you look around and realize you've wrecked relationships, ruined opportunities, and hurt people you care about. That's why you can't let it drive. But let's look at fear. Fear is the most cautious driver you'll ever meet. Fear doesn't hit the gas, it parks the car. It tells you, don't go there, it's dangerous. It whispers, you're not good enough to take that road. Fear will keep you sitting at the same stop sign for years while life passes you by. And then, when fear finally gets tired and steps out, you realize how much time you lost, how many roads you never traveled, how many dreams you let slip away. That's the cost of letting fear drive your life. Then there's doubt. Doubt is the backseat driver who keeps grabbing the wheel. Every time you're about to make a bold turn, doubt yells, "What if you fail?" and jerks you off course. If you let doubt control your steering, you'll never make it to your destination. You spend your whole life circling the same block, never progressing, because you kept listening to that voice telling you you weren't ready. And let's not forget sadness. Sadness drives slow. It drags you down roads you don't belong on. It convinces you to look in the rearview mirror so long that you forget there's a road ahead. When sadness is in control, you waste years of your life mourning what's gone instead of building what's coming. Here's the truth. Emotions aren't bad, they're signals. They're the GPS telling you something about your current situation. But they're not meant to drive, they're meant to ride along. Anger can tell you something's unfair, but your mind decides how to handle it. Fear can warn you about risk, but your mind decides if the risk is worth it. Sadness can remind you of loss, but your mind decides whether you stop or keep going. You need those signals, but you need to be the one making the moves. When you train yourself not to let emotions sit in the driver's seat, you create stability in your life. People trust you more. Opportunities open up. You don't lose control every time something happens. Instead of reacting wildly, you respond with wisdom, and when the emotion fades, you're proud of the choices you made. That's what growth looks like. That's what strength feels like. So I'll say it again, ladies and gentlemen. Your life is the car, and you're the driver. Don't give your keys to anger. Don't give your keys to fear. Don't let sadness, jealousy, or doubt take control of your wheel. Let them ride in the back seat, but you stay in control. Because once you realize you have the power to drive your own life, no emotion can stop you from reaching your destination. Ladies and gentlemen, strength is not about how loud you can shout or how hard you can hit. Real strength is about control. It's about being able to master your response when life throws situations at you that try to pull you apart. Anybody can react. Anybody can lose their temper, throw their hands up, and walk away. But not everybody can stop, breathe, and choose the right response in the middle of chaos. That's what separates people who win in life from people who keep losing. Mastering your response. Think about it. Life will test you. People will test you. You will face insults, betrayals, setbacks, disappointments. And every single time you will feel that urge to react. You'll want to argue back. You'll want to prove your point. You want to fight fire with fire, but what does that do? It keeps you stuck in the same cycle. It pulls you down to the same level as the problem. When you let your emotions dictate your response, you give away your power. But when you master your response, you keep your power and you control the outcome. Let me give you an example. Somebody cut you off in traffic. You get angry. You start yelling. Maybe you even chase them down. That momentary reaction might feel good, but it could end in an accident, in a fight, or even in something tragic. Now imagine the same situation, but this time you choose a different response. You take a deep breath, you let it go, you keep driving, the problem disappears, your peace is intact, and you still make it to your destination. That's strength, that's control. The difference between the two scenarios is not the event, it's the response. Mastering your response also applies in relationships. Sometimes people you love will say things that hurt. If you lash out every time, you create damage that's hard to repair. But if you take a moment to think, to understand, to calm yourself before responding, you build instead of destroy. You see, mastering your response doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you choose the right moment, the right words, and the right way to stand up for yourself. It means you decide, not your emotions. One of the most dangerous emotions when it comes to response is fear. Fear can convince you to run from opportunity, to quit before you even start, to hide your gift. But when you master your response to fear, you move forward anyway. You don't deny the fear, you just refuse to let it dictate your action. That's how people build businesses, chase dreams, and change their lives. They felt the fear, but they responded with courage. That's mastery. Even doubt plays a role. Doubt whispers in your ear telling you that you can't, that you're not ready, that you don't deserve it. If you respond to doubt by giving in, you'll never grow. But if you master your response by choosing faith over doubt, by saying, I'm moving forward anyway, you create breakthrough. The strongest people you will ever meet are not the ones who never feel emotions. They are the ones who feel it all, but still respond with wisdom. They still respond with patience. They still respond with faith. That's where greatness is born, because your response shapes your life more than your circumstances ever will. Circumstances come and go. What people do to you, you can't always control. But how you respond, that's always your choice. So when life tests you, when people push your buttons, when situations try to knock you down, remember that your response is your power. You can either hand it over to emotions and regret later, or you can master it and rise higher. Real strength is not in reaction, it's in response. That's how you win the battles that really matter. Ladies and gentlemen, life is full of emotions that try to pull you off track. Fear shows up to make you freeze. Doubt comes in to make you question yourself. Anger rises to make you lose control. These three emotions, fear, doubt, and anger, are some of the strongest forces that stop people from reaching their true potential. But I'll tell you something powerful. A disciplined mind cannot be controlled by them. When you build discipline in your thinking, when you train your mind to focus, these emotions may knock at your door, but they won't be able to move in and take over your life. Fear is one of the biggest dream killers in the world. Fear tells you, don't try, you might fail. Fear convinces you to stay comfortable instead of stepping into your calling. Everybody feels fear. It's part of being human. But the difference is whether you let fear control you. When your mind is disciplined, you recognize fear for what it is, a warning, not a wall. Fear is supposed to make you careful, not make you quit. A disciplined mind says, yes, I see the risk, but I also see the reward. It chooses to move forward, even when fear is present. That's the power of discipline. It keeps fear in its place. Then there's doubt. Doubt whispers you're not good enough. It reminds you of every past mistake, every time you came up short. Doubt doesn't shout, it speaks softly, constantly, until you start to believe it. That's why so many people stop before they even begin. But when your mind is disciplined, you know how to shut down doubt. You replace it with faith. You replace it with action. You remind yourself that progress is more important than perfection. Discipline gives you the ability to keep moving even when your confidence isn't at its highest. That's how people succeed. They act in spite of doubt, not because it disappeared. And then comes anger. Anger is quick, powerful, and destructive. It makes people say things they regret, make choices they can't undo, and burn bridges they still need to cross. Anger has destroyed more relationships, careers, and opportunities than almost anything else. But a disciplined mind doesn't hand over control to anger. A disciplined mind feels the anger, but it pauses before reacting. It asks, will this action help me or hurt me? It chooses patience over impulse. That doesn't mean you let people mistreat you. It means you respond with strength, not weakness disguised as rage. Discipline gives you the power to control the fire instead of letting it burn everything down. The truth is, fear, doubt, and anger will always exist. You can't eliminate them. You can't live life without ever feeling afraid, without ever questioning yourself, without ever getting upset. But you can decide whether they rule you. And the only way to make that decision is through discipline. Discipline is training your mind daily to focus on your goals, to practice patience, to choose faith, to think before you act. Discipline is doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not. With discipline, fear doesn't paralyze you. With discipline, doubt doesn't silence you. With discipline, anger doesn't control you. Discipline is the guard at the gate of your mind, standing strong against the emotions that try to break in. And once you build that discipline, you can face any challenge, any setback, any storm, and still stay on track. Because emotions may visit, but they will never take the driver's seat in your life again. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about life. You don't wake up one day with a strong mind. You don't become unshakable overnight. Strength of mind is built the same way muscles are built, through small, consistent victories. Every time you win a small battle against your emotions, you become stronger for the bigger battles that are waiting down the road. Those little wins may not look like much in the moment, but they prepare you for the storms that could otherwise break you. Think about it like this. You're in a tough situation at work. A coworker says something rude, and your first instinct is to snap back. That's your emotion talking. But instead of reacting, you pause, breathe, and keep it professional. That's a small win. In that moment, you didn't lose your cool, you didn't ruin your reputation, and you didn't give away your power. It may seem minor, but that act of self-control builds your mental strength. And when a bigger conflict comes later in life, you'll be ready because you train yourself to stay calm. Small wins also happen when you choose discipline over comfort. Let's say you don't feel like waking up early to work on your goals. Your emotions say, stay in bed, get some extra sleep, you deserve it. But your mind says, get up, handle your business. If you listen to your mind and get up anyway, that's a small win. Each time you do that, you get stronger. And when the day comes where you really need to grind, when everything is on the line, you'll have the discipline already built. You won't collapse under the weight of your emotions because you've trained yourself through smaller tests, even with fear. Small wins matter. You may not be ready to take the biggest leap of your life today, but maybe you take a smaller step. Maybe you speak up in a meeting even though fear tells you to stay quiet. That's a small win. You prove to yourself that fear doesn't own you, and the more you stack those wins, the more courage you build. By the time a big opportunity shows up, you be ready because fear no longer has the same grip on you. With doubt, it works the same way. Doubt will tell you you're not qualified, you're not capable, you're not good enough. But when you take action anyway, when you push forward on a small goal, you chip away at that doubt. Every small accomplishment says, see, I can do this. That momentum builds belief, and belief is what you'll need when the mountain in front of you gets bigger. Now, anger, this is one of the hardest ones. Anger wants to win every battle right away. But if you practice small wins, like holding your tongue instead of lashing out, like walking away instead of escalating, you strengthen your ability to control yourself. Each time you win against anger in the little moments, you're preparing yourself for the big test. When life throws a situation at you that could destroy everything if you lose control, by practicing small wins, you'll have the strength to handle it. The truth is, big battles don't show up without warning. Life gives you smaller tests first. The small frustrations, the little fears, the doubts that creep in, these are your training grounds. If you keep losing the small fights, the big ones will crush you. But if you win the small ones, if you build discipline one choice at a time, when the real storm comes, you'll be unshakable. So remember, strength is not built in a single moment of glory. It's built in the small decisions you make every day. And when you keep stacking those wins, no matter how small, you're preparing yourself for victories that will change your life forever. Ladies and gentlemen, storms are a part of life. You can't avoid them. You can't outrun them. And you can't pray them all away. Storms are going to come in the form of challenges, setbacks, losses, betrayals, and disappointments. The question is not whether the storm is coming, is whether you have the strength of mind to withstand it. Because when your mind is strong, no storm can take you down. A strong mind doesn't mean the storm doesn't hurt. It means the storm can't stop you. Think about the people who fall apart when life gets hard. The job is lost, the relationship ends, the business deal doesn't work out, and they collapse. They let the storm convince them their life is over. But then you look at others who go through the exact same kind of storm and they rise. They feel the pain, but they keep moving. They feel the pressure, but they don't quit. The difference isn't the size of the storm, it's the strength of the mind. A weak mind breaks, but a strong mind bends without snapping. A strong mind doesn't panic in chaos. When the winds blow, a strong mind stays calm and thinks clearly. It doesn't waste time asking, why me? It asks, what's next? That shift in thinking changes everything, because the storm is temporary, but your response determines whether you grow or get buried. A strong mind knows that trouble doesn't last always, but quitting makes it permanent. Even in financial storms, the principle is the same. Money gets tight, bills pile up, and emotions start screaming, it's over. But a strong mind refuses to give in to despair. A strong mind says, I will find a way. And because it refuses to be broken, solutions start to show up. The storm may not end overnight, but the person with a strong mind will still be standing when it does. That's how breakthroughs happen. Relationships have storms too. People you love will hurt you, disappoint you, even walk away from you. A weak mind takes that pain and builds walls, never trusting again, never opening up, never healing. But a strong mind feels the pain and still chooses to love again, still chooses to forgive, still chooses to grow. That's why a strong mind is unstoppable. It doesn't get stuck in the storm. It finds a way through it. And let's be real. Some storms come from within. Fear, doubt, insecurity. They create storms inside your own head. You can be sitting in a quiet room and still feel like you're drowning. But when your mind is strong, you know how to calm those inner storms. You know how to speak life into yourself, how to replace fear with faith, how to silence doubt with action. That's what keeps you moving forward when most people get stuck. The truth is, storms don't break people. Weak minds do. Storms expose whether you've trained yourself or not. They show whether you've been building strength in the small battles, whether you've been practicing discipline, whether you've been controlling your emotions. If you've done the work, When the storm comes, you won't just survive it, you'll grow through it. You'll come out stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next season. So understand this, the storm is inevitable, but defeat is optional. You can't control the wind, but you can control your sails. And when your mind is strong, you don't just endure storms, you use them to push you forward. That's why nothing, no setback, no disappointment, no betrayal, no loss can stop a person who has trained their mind. A strong mind makes you unstoppable, because storm people do.